In this beginner sculpting follow along tutorial, we're going to be sculpting this old man face in Blender. Now this tutorial is for beginners, but if you're a complete beginner and you've never done sculpting in Blender before, then I would definitely recommend checking out my Sculpting with Blender for Beginners tutorial. Link will be in the description and also a card will be right up there on the screen and you can go ahead and watch that. But as long as you know the basic tools and basic shortcut keys and things like that, then this still is for beginners. So as long as you know just some basic things about sculpting, then you should be able to follow along with this tutorial. Huge thank you to Sketchfab for sponsoring this video. Sketchfab is an awesome 3D model site where you can upload, buy, and sell 3D models and assets. One of my favorite features of Sketchfab is that you can upload and view your 3D models in your browser and even view them on your phone or tablet. Sketchfab also has a huge 3D model store where you can purchase 3D models and assets for your 3D work. You can also apply to become a seller on the platform. Be sure to check out Sketchfab with the links in the description. And before we start, I did want to mention that I am using a drawing tablet to do the sculpting, and I would highly recommend that you use a drawing tablet if you're able to. If you'd like to purchase a drawing tablet, I will have Amazon links in the video description to some tablets that I recommend, and those are Amazon affiliate links. As an Amazon associate, I earn from qualifying purchases, but it won't cost you anything extra if you purchase something through those links. But really, I think using any type of drawing tablet is going to be way better than using a mouse, because mice really just aren't made for sculpting. They're kind of just made for going around and clicking on certain places on the screen. But mice don't have pen pressure and you're not able to make very smooth long strokes. And also the posture really isn't very good for your hand. A drawing tablet is a lot better posture, so it's a lot healthier for your hand and your wrist to use a drawing tablet while you're sculpting. So even if you're able to get just a cheap pad tablet or maybe even get a used one on eBay or something like that, that's going to be way better than using a mouse. And also on my other monitors, I've thrown up some reference images of some other sculpts and some like facial anatomy and some old man faces. And I'd highly recommend that you get some reference images and kind of put them on the side so that you can look at them while you're sculpting. Reference images are super important as well. Alright, so here I am in Blender and I have my screencast keys right down here so you can see what buttons I'm pressing. So what I'm going to do first is just press A to select everything and then press X and delete. I'm now going to press Shift A and I'm going to add a mesh, and I like to use the icosphere. You could also just add a normal UV sphere. So I'm going to add the icosphere, and in my Sculpting with Blender for Beginners tutorial, I was getting a lot of comments and people were saying that when they added the icosphere, this setting right over here behind my face, it wasn't coming up. So if it's not coming up, you could just leave it how it is, or you could just add a UV sphere. You can do whatever you want, it doesn't really matter, just as long as you have a circular shape to start out with sculpting the face. So on the subdivisions here, I'm just going to turn this up to maybe like 6, and then I'll close this. And that way when I zoom in here, you can see that there is a lot of detail on this sphere. Now as far as shortcut keys goes, it's really going to depend on how you've set up your shortcut keys, like with the buttons on your mouse in your driver settings. But I just have all of my settings on the default, so let me just go over the different ways to navigate and sculpt. So let me just actually first go over into Sculpt Mode, so you can see that there are these tabs right here, and I'm going to go over into the Sculpting Layout. You could also just go Object and then go into Sculpt Mode, but I like going into the Sculpting Layout because it gets rid of the timeline and just makes the area a lot more efficient for sculpting. So I'll just go over the different navigation shortcut keys really quick. So how I zoom in and out is I hold down the Control key and then I click with my front pen button. So Control, click with my front pen button, and then I can hold and I can just drag in and out and then let go. And I'm not actually pressing on the screen, I'm just clicking and hovering it over the tablet. And then how I pan is I hold down the Shift key and I click the front button, and then I just drag and then let go, and I can pan around. And then if I want to orbit or kind of rotate around, I don't hold down Control or Shift, I just click on the front pen button and I can rotate around the sphere. And then how to add clay is you press down on your drawing tablet and then you drag and then let go, and that's going to add clay. And then if you want to push the clay in, what you can do is hold down the Control key and then press down, and that's going to push the clay in instead. Alright, so I'm just going to press Ctrl Z to undo that. Alright, now before we really get into this, I do want to change the matte cap because this white and gray matte cap really I don't think is very good for sculpting. So what I'm going to do is click right up here, and you can see that there is a matte cap, and if I click on this, there's all these different matte caps. Now, I've actually added in my own matte caps. I actually have a tutorial on how to create your own matte caps and add them in, so I've added in extra matte caps, but this one here is built into Blender, so you should have it, and this is the one that I'm going to use because I like it. So it's this red one. I really like this one because it gives me a good feel of the form of the object. All right, let's get started. So I'm just going to zoom out here. And then I'm going to press G or click right down here to go to the grab brush. And then I'll press F to make my brush bigger and then click to place that. So what I'm going to do first is just start to pull down the jaw. So let me just zoom out a little bit more. And if I start to pull down the jaw, you can see that it's not actually mirroring it over to the other side. That's because the symmetry isn't turned on. So how to turn on the symmetry, you can go right up here and click on this X. And now you can see there's that little dot there, and that is a representation of where the symmetry is going to be. So if I press 1 on the number pad, that's going to go to front view, and now I can see it's going to mirror it on the X. If I mirror on all 3 of them, you can see there's 4 dots there. And it's going to mirror it on all the different sides. But I just want to turn it on the X because I just want to mirror the face over. And also the symmetry settings are also right down here. So they're also right down there if you want to get to them right there. But I just use these ones. Okay, so I'm going to now click and drag and pull down and just start to pull out that jaw. I'm going to also go to side view. You can also press 3 on the number pad to go to side view. And just pull down that jaw. And then let me just go back to front view. I want to push in the head a little bit because the head isn't super round on the sides. It gets kind of flat. So I'm just going to press in there. Just bring the side of the face in a little bit so it's a little bit flat right there. Okay. Always be looking at your sculpt from lots of different angles, because if you sculpt from one angle for a long time, then you may not realize that the shape is actually not really how you like. So I'm always moving around and looking at it from different angles to make sure I get my shapes right. Bring that in a little bit, I think. Okay, so now I want to go ahead and start doing more detailed sculpting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click right up here to the clay strips. And if you hover over it, you can see there's the shortcut keys right there. And there may be multiple shortcut keys. So if there's multiple shortcut keys, it's going to have a comma there. So you can do Shift Spacebar, or you can also press 2. And that's going to change it to the clay strips. All right, so I want to start to carve in the eyes because there's these big eye sockets. It goes way back here and then it kind of comes up. So there's this big kind of hole there, and then that's where the eye is placed in. So I want to carve in the hole right there. So I'm going to hold down the Control key and start to sculpt. Now you can see as I start to sculpt, because this is kind of a low quality mesh, you can see all the vertices here, and there's so little detail that it's really hard to actually add any detail and make those holes where the eyes are going to be. So what I can do is over here, I can click with my front pen button and go right down here, and you can see there's this Dyn Topo. I'm going to open this up and turn it on, and then just click on OK. What this is going to do is it's going to add geometry as we're sculpting. So right now the detail size is set to 2 on default. So if we start to sculpt, you can see that it's better, but the detail size is still pretty high. I like to turn this number a lot more down. So if you change this down to like a 6, and then I sculpt, so I'm going to hold down Control and start to sculpt in, you can see that now when I zoom in, there's a lot more detail there. Now I like to go even lower, so I'm going to change this down to like a 4. But the higher detail that you go, the harder it's going to be on your computer, because when it gets like really, really high, like if I change this to like a 2 and then I start to sculpt, you can see that it's adding lots of detail in there. And pretty soon, if I kept doing this, you can see now it's starting to lag because I'm sculpting so fast. So I'm just going to Control Z that. So if you change this to 4 and start to sculpt and it's a little bit laggy, you probably need to turn the detail up a little bit. I'm just going to change this to 4, and hopefully for most of you, this should be pretty fine. So now I can hold down the Control key and just go along here where it's low quality and just kind of make it a lot higher quality. Also, I'm going to kind of go around here, just go back and forth with your pen. Okay, just make those eye sockets right in there. Okay, now we should probably save our Blender file, because if Blender crashes, we don't want to lose everything. So let's go File and click on Save As. And then just go to somewhere on your computer where you want to save the file. And I'm just going to save that on my computer. Okay, so now that we've saved that, as you're sculpting, you can press Control S to save, or just go File and Save. Okay, so let's continue now. I want to sculpt out the nose, and I kind of want to make a kind of a big nose. So I'm going to just go to the front here, and then I'm going to start to sculpt around the shape of the nose. So I'm going to go around there, kind of pop that nose out. Okay, so let's just keep on going here. So I'm just going to go around the shape of that nose. Okay, maybe go over here to the side, kind of pop that out, just going around the shape of the nose. Okay, be sure to look at it from all angles. And then I'm also going to kind of go around here in circles and kind of pop out that nose there. Okay, and then also you can just kind of go along here, really pop that out. And if you go to side view, you can see how we're doing. That's looking pretty good. Okay, just go along there, make it come out a little bit more. Now, right here in the very center, I want that to go in just a little bit. So I'm going to hold down the Control key and just sculpt in and just make that go in a little bit. All right, now the mouth actually comes out a little bit and then it curves around the face. So the face is very round. It is very round. The facial features aren't very flat. So I want to make sure that as I'm sculpting, we don't just make it like super flat, that we make the facial features curving around the face. Because if you go to top view, you can see the face is very round and we will make it even rounder later on. Okay, so the mouth is very round and curves around the face. So what I'm going to do is the front of the mouth, I'm going to start to sculpt that and just kind of pop it out. Okay, and then kind of as we get back here, I'm going to hold down the Control key now and kind of go in there. Okay, and then I want to have where the cheeks are kind of go in a little bit because there's the jaw, and then right in between the jaw and the cheekbone. So the cheekbone's right here and the jaw's down here. There's kind of an opening right there. You can kind of push in. So I want to have that going in a little bit. So I'm going to hold down the Control key and just kind of go even farther in. And then the cheekbone is like right here and the jawbone is right here. So I'm just going to Control Z that. Okay, just go in there. Okay, make that go in a bit. And then let's go back to the front of the face. Actually, let me look on side view. See if that's looking... Okay, I want to pop that out even a little bit more. So I'm not holding down the Control key now, I'm just sculpting. I'm just going to go around that. Okay, just kind of popping out where the teeth are. Okay, that's pretty good. Control S to save again. Now let's go ahead and sculpt that jawbone a bit more. So I'm going to go to side view, and the jawbone is kind of going to be right about here. So I'm just going to start by going down, and then going over. Down and over, and then over again. Okay. Go over, and then I want to make the chin a bit bigger, so I'm going to just sculpt around there. So don't merge this hump with this hump, because right where the chin ends, it kind of comes in and then it comes out for your lips and your mouth. So let's go along here and just make these two different shapes. So it kind of comes in here. You could also hold down Control and kind of go in there to make that a little bit stronger going in. Okay, let's look at it from side view again. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Okay, let's continue to kind of flush this out. So I'm going to just go along here, go back and forth, and just kind of pop that out a bit, going around here. Okay, Control S again to save our project. See how that's looking, kind of look around. So what I'm going to do now is press 3 on the number pad to go to side view, and then I'm going to kind of work around, I'm going to work with this right here and kind of make the side profile shape a little bit better. So to do this, I'm going to press G and go to the grab brush, and you can also press F to make your brush bigger and smaller. And then looking at reference photos is really great, so I do have a lot of reference images right up here. So what I'm going to do is just start to kind of pull out some different shapes. So I'm going to pull out the brow a little bit, so I'm just going to pop that out a little bit. Okay, and then just where the top of the nose is, I want that to come in a little bit more, so I'm going to zoom in a bit. And then just kind of push that in. And then I want the nose to be coming out more. So I'm going to kind of pull that out more. Okay. And then pop this out a little bit. Maybe push this in a little bit. Just to make that a little bit more cartoony and stylized. There we go. I really like how that's looking. Now the back of the head is actually pretty big, and this is kind of unrealistic. So I'm just going to use the grab brush with G, F to make my brush bigger. Just make a really big brush and just kind of tap. And just pop that in a little bit, because right now the back of the head is pretty big, unrealistically big. Okay, there we go. Now the jaw here, I want to make this jaw a bit farther back, so I'm going to zoom in, and with the grab brush again, kind of pull this back a little bit and maybe down a little bit more. And then let's go to front view and kind of see how that's looking. I could also press 1 on the number pad for front view and just kind of see how that's looking. Okay, I think I want to go back here and just kind of push that back in a little bit. Control S to save again. And then right here where the jaw is, that jaw is pretty large. You can see like how big the cheekbone is and then like how big this is. I want to make that a bit smaller because it's a pretty wide jawbone right now, so I want to make it a bit less wide. So I'm going to just tap and bring that in a little bit. Okay, that's better. Okay, so I want to make the old man smiling, and so when you smile, you have these wrinkles that go from the wings of your nose all the way down to the side of your mouth. When you smile, you have those wrinkles right there. So I'm going to add in those wrinkles. So I'm going to go to the clay strips brush, zoom in here, and actually let's do the wings of the nose before we do that real quick. So to make the wings of the nose, I'm going to kind of go on the side here and kind of go around and just kind of pop out those wings of the nose, and then maybe hold down Control, go in a little bit, and then just pop that out a little bit. Okay, on the side of the nose, I'm also going to hold down Control, kind of sharpen up the side of the nose, kind of flatten out that a little bit. And then this bottom shape here, you can sort of think of this as one flat plane. So the bottom of the nose. So to make this a bit flatter, you can hold down the Control key and kind of go around and kind of even that out. You can sort of think of this as almost like a triangle, and it's like a flat plane. So just hold down Control, sharpen that up a little bit. And if you wanted to, you could also go to the Scrapes brush right here, and then this brush is going to flatten things out even more. So this just kind of scrapes off clay, and now you can see there's kind of like that flat angle right there. Okay, so now let's go ahead and make those wrinkles right there going from the wings of the nose all the way down to the mouth. So I'm going to go to the clay strips brush, and instead of like going like this, I'm going to go along the forms instead of down the form. So I'm going to just start to sculpt, just going around here, little strokes kind of going around that form. Okay. And because he's smiling, the cheeks are also going to pop out a little bit and be a little bit bigger. So I'm going to go right here, make those cheeks a little bit bigger. Okay, just go down there. Just keep on doing that, make that a little bit bigger, and then kind of have it going around there and just kind of stop down there. Okay, there we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and add the mouth. So I'm going to go to the crease brush right here, and then let's just go down here, kind of zoom in, and I'm going to just go like this. And because the crease brush creases in, we don't need to hold down the Control. If you hold down Control, it's going to make it pop up. But if you don't, it's just going to kind of crease it in. So I'm just going to go along here, bring that. Okay, just make a crease there for the mouth. Okay, pretty good. And I want to make his mouth slightly opening, so I'll just make another crease right there, and then just kind of go in. Okay, just I'll crease that. Control S again to save the project. Okay, that's pretty good. So now what I can do is go to, actually I think I'll go to the draw brush, this top one right here, and then hold down Control and just kind of carve away the inside of the mouth. Maybe press F to make my brush a little bit bigger, and then just carve away there inside the mouth. Now, if it's kind of getting like squished right here, I don't know if this is happening for you, but kind of right in there where the mirror is, you can smooth. So what you do is you hold down the Shift key, and then you can just sculpt with any brush you're using. So if you hold down the Shift key while you're sculpting, it's going to automatically go to the smooth brush. So, you know, this is how it's normally is. If I hold down the Shift key, you can see it automatically smooths it out. The smooth brush is right here, but there's just a shortcut key for doing that quicker. So I'm going to hold down the Shift key as I sculpt, and that will just smooth that out a little bit. And then again, hold down Control and kind of carve in there with that brush. Okay. There we go. That's pretty good. I think I'll just smooth that out a little bit more. Maybe go back in there a little bit. Okay, and then also maybe just hold down Control key and just carve that in a little bit more. Just kind of opening up the inside of the mouth a little bit. But we're not going to see the inside of that too much. I'm also holding down the Shift key again and just kind of smoothing out that inside there. Now this all around here and stuff, this does look pretty rough, but we will be smoothing that out later. Okay, Control S again to save. Okay, so that is looking pretty good. I like how that's turning out. Now, let's see. It looks like I made this a little too far back because this almost looks like it's going back before it goes over. So I'm just going to press G for the grab brush and then just kind of drag this over. I think I went a little too far with that. But I do want this to go pretty far down, maybe even have it going up just slightly before it goes down there. Okay. That looks pretty good. Okay, so while we're working on this back area, I think I want to cut this in. So I'm going to go to the clay strips brush. I'm going to cut in behind the jawbone right there. So I'm going to hold down the control key and just kind of go along here and cut that in. Okay. Just kind of cut that in, go down here, just going back and forth. Okay. And then also if you want to, you could hold down the shift key and just smooth that out a little bit. Make sure you don't overuse the smooth brush, because if you're just like smoothing out everything, you can really mess up those really nice forms that you've created. So definitely you can use the smooth brush, but just don't overuse it. When you're trying to smooth, try to be pretty subtle with it and try to smooth around the forms, because like if you want to smooth this out, if you just go along here, it's going to kind of mess that up if you apply a lot of pressure. But if you just kind of lightly go along here and just smooth around the forms, it's going to still keep the shape a lot better. But really, we can just wait till the end and kind of smooth it out as we go and as it gets more detailed. So I think now I want to work on the neck. So what I'm going to do is just go down here, and there's a few different ways that you can pull out the neck. What I'm going to do is just go to the draw brush and press F to make my brush bigger. And then I'm just going to go around in circles. Just going around in circles, just popping that out. Okay, just pulling out that neck. I find that this is just usually the easiest and quickest way. Okay, there we go. So now what I can do is I can kind of pull that out and thicken up that neck. So I'm going to go to the grab brush and press F, make my brush a little bit smaller, and then just start to pull that out. Just kind of click and drag, or press and drag. Okay, so just keep on pulling that out, kind of making the shoulders, and then bring this down to make a little bit of a chest. You could also go down to the bottom of it and kind of pull around here. Just kind of pull that out. Okay. There we go. That's a little too far out, so maybe push that back a little bit. So that neck is really thin, so I want to make it a lot thicker. So to do that, I'm going to go to the clay strips brush and just kind of go back and forth and just go along the neck and thicken it up. Also making, kind of going up here and going down and making that shape right there. Okay, going out to kind of the back, and then also just filling that in a little bit, although I do want that to go in a little bit, but just doing something like that. Okay. Also going along here, thickening up the side of the neck. Okay. So I want to add a lot more down here on the bottom of the jaw going into the neck. So I'm going to go along here. Okay. Go along there, kind of zoom in here. And I also want to go kind of back and forth here, kind of make some skin, kind of some wrinkly skin coming down like that. Okay. And then just kind of going along the entire thing, just thickening up that neck. And also you could hold down the shift key, smooth that out if you wanted to. Just smooth that whole thing out a little bit. Let's take a look at this, kind of go back, kind of zoom out and just kind of look at the whole thing. And then let's go ahead and add that muscle that goes from the bottom of the ear, kind of where the jaw starts and goes all the way down and kind of meets right here. So I'm going to go up here and then kind of start to go around on the side of it. Just keep on going down. Okay. Just going back and forth around the form of that. Just going down in there. Okay. Just kind of to like there. And then just going back along that, kind of defining that shape a little bit better. Okay. And then just slightly smoothing that out. Don't want to smooth it out too much, but just lightly smoothing that out. Let's go ahead and add the Adam's apple. So it's kind of that thing that kind of pops out right there. So I'm going to just sculpt right there, kind of pop out that Adam's apple just a little bit. And then add more skin there. Okay, and then I think I'll just hold down the shift key and smooth that whole thing out just a little bit. Also just kind of popping out where the side of the neck goes out to the shoulder, and then right over here where the shoulder is. I'm not going to be sculpting the shoulders, but I do kind of want to make a nice bust kind of shape. Almost like if this was like a clay bust or something. So I'm just going to go along there, just slightly pop out where the shoulders would be, and then just go along there. You could also go down here and just sharpen that up, kind of pop out those edges there, and then hold down the shift key and kind of smooth that out. Okay, holding down the shift key, just smoothing that all out, going down to the bottom here, smoothing that all out there too. Okay, now this is kind of low quality, so I think I'll just lightly go along here, just add more geometry, and then just smooth that out with the shift key, holding down the shift key, smoothing that all out. Okay, that looks better. All right, just take a look at this, go kind of back out and kind of look around at the whole thing. Let's see how it's doing. Now this, something I don't like here is that this kind of goes out and then kind of in. It almost looks like that. So what I want to do is press G for the grab brush and just kind of pull these in. Just pull them in a little bit closer, maybe pull that up a little bit. Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and add the eyes now. So what I'm going to do is actually go back to Layout, and then I'm going to press Shift-C, and that'll center the 3D cursor to the center of our scene there. And then I'll press Shift-A. Oh, not that one, wrong one. Shift-A. It's kind of hard using the tablet to do this. I'm going to add a UV sphere. So click on the UV sphere. And then without moving it, I'm just going to tab into edit mode and press G to grab, S to scale, R to rotate, and when I rotate it, I'm going to press R to rotate, and then I want to rotate it so it's kind of like looking forwards. So I'm going to type X so it's only rotating on the X axis, and then type in 90 for 90 degrees, and then enter. There we go. And then S, scale that down. You could use your mouse for this. This might be a little bit easier to use your mouse, but I'm just going to use the drawing tablet because I already have it kind of set up in front of me. Okay, G to grab, bring that up. Okay, also look at this from side view, so 3 on the number pad for side view. To go into wireframe view, you press Z, move your mouse over, and then let go. Or you could also go into wireframe by just clicking right there. Okay, because I don't want the eye to be coming farther out than like the rest of the face. So you can see if this were like over here, that would kind of not really be correct. So I'm going to just bring that in. Okay, Z, move my mouse over and let go. Actually, you move my pen over and let go. And then I don't want to make the eye too big, so I think I'll scale it down a little bit. And then G to grab, kind of bring that out just a little bit. And I think I'll still make that a little bit smaller, so S to scale. Just play around with that and stick it where you want. Something that might help you placing the eye is that usually there is about one eye width in between the eyes. So my eye is, this long, and then the other eye is this long. So about that width is in the middle. That's just a general guideline that you can use to kind of help you. It's not true with everyone. And if you're stylizing things, then you may want to change it up. But that is something that you can kind of think about. So how long this is would be kind of how long this is. And then there's the other one. Okay, so I'm going to call that good for now. If we need to move it around, we can, but I'm just going to leave that where it is. Maybe just move it slightly closer in to the center of the face. Okay, so now I'm going to just zoom in here. I'm just going to do a little bit of editing to kind of pop out that eye. So I'm actually going to press A to deselect everything, hold down the Alt key and select this loop, then hold down the Shift and Alt key and select this loop, and then just hold down the Shift key and select this one. Okay. I'm also going to press period on the number pad to kind of center my view to this. So what I'm going to do now is press E and bring that in. And then I'll press S to scale, Y on the Y axis, and then type in -1, enter. So now instead of that kind of going forward, it's actually going backwards. So now I can press G to grab, Y on the Y axis and bring that in, and also S to scale. Scale that down a little bit. Let's go into object mode and see how it's looking. Okay, so I'm going to shade this smooth. Let's just go object, shade smooth, tab into edit mode. And then you can see that because this is shaded smooth, it's really rounded right there. So what I can do is press Control R in edit mode to add a loop cut, and then click, bring that in, and then click again. Then I want to add one more loop cut in there. So I'll press Control R, click, bring that out, and then click to place that. Okay, tab back into object mode, and now that's really sharp. Okay, so that's good, although I think the eye is a little bit too big. So I'm going to tab back into edit mode, zoom in here, and I'm going to hold down the Alt and Shift key and select all of these loops. And then right at the end here, this last one, I'm just going to hold down the Shift key and select that last one. Then I'll just press S, scale that down a bit, and that looks better. Okay, so I'm going to go back into sculpt mode now. So what I need to do is select the face object, and then I can go back to the sculpting tab or just go from here into sculpt mode. And now we can continue to sculpt. Now right here, it might give you an error, and that's because when you go back into object mode, it turns off the Dyn topo. So we need to actually turn it back on. So just click on this, click on OK. And then let's start to sculpt the eyelids. So the eyelids can be a little bit tricky, but I will go slowly and kind of help you through it. So I'm going to go to the clay strips. I'm just going to start out by going around and just making the basic shapes. I'm going to kind of be looking up at the eye. I'm just going to start to go around here. I'm just popping that out. Oh, and you can see we actually didn't add the mirror modifier onto the eyeball, so we'll do that in a moment. So I'm just going to go around here and just pop that out and just kind of keep sculpting till it kind of comes through there a little bit. Just keep on going. Just going around there, back and forth, back and forth. Okay. Okay, so now that we've done that, I want to do that for the bottom too. So I'm going to kind of be looking down on the eye and then do the same thing. So just go around, go back and forth, and just pop out those eyelids. Okay. So the shape is really messed up, but we will go ahead and fix this. Okay, so real quick, I'm actually going to go back to the layout here. Just select this eye, and then over on the modifiers, I can click on Add Modifier and add the Mirror Modifier. And because we moved it in edit mode, it's going to mirror it over to the other side. Now, if for some reason it's not mirroring correctly, you can do the mirror object. So what you'll do is click on this, and then click on the face, and then that way it'll mirror it along this face. So it'll be mirrored to the other side. But that looks good for me. Okay. And then one more thing before we continue, I think I want to pop out the eyes just a tad. So I'm going to press G to grab, Y on the Y-axis, just bring that out a tiny bit, and then click to place that. I just want to pop out those eyes a little bit farther. Okay, let's select this object again and go back into sculpting, and then the Dyn Topo is turned off. So a shortcut key for turning on the Dyn Topo is by pressing Control D. So if you press Control D and then just click on that, it's going to turn that on. Okay, so just go along here again. Just kind of pop those out. Go along here if you need to. Okay, so now that we've added that, I'm going to use the grab brush and kind of shape it a little bit better. So I'll press G for the grab brush, and then again F, and then click to change your brush size, or you can also just change the radius right here. Okay, so I'm going to kind of bring this up, go to side view. Now the eyes are very round because they're circular, so the eyelids curve around the eye. So I'm going to go to side view and kind of pull that out a little bit and make sure it's being very round and going around the eye. Okay, look at that from different views. Okay, you can also go to top view and kind of pop that out. And then on the two sides of the eyes, I'm going to pull that in just a little bit. And then also in here, just pull that in a little bit. And then kind of pop out the front. So that way, this is a lot more curved around the shape of the eye. Okay, just pull this up a little bit. Now, this flat lid here, I want it to be a bit more flat. It's still going to be round, but it's going to be a little bit more flat. So like up here, I kind of want to pull this down a little bit and then pull this up a little bit. So this is a bit more flat. And then here, this is going to be a bit more round. So it's so it's going to come up a little bit more. So I'm going to pop this out, just kind of tapping along here and changing that shape a bit. Okay, that looks better. Now the eyelids are really puffy right now. So let's go to the clay strips brush. And I'm going to hold down the control key and just kind of go along here and sharpen that up. Kind of flatten that out a bit as well, because we do want that lip right there, but we want it to be pretty small. So just go along here, flattening that out a bit. Okay, looking pretty good. Remember to press Control S to save your project. Okay, so now that that's a lot smaller, what I want to do is really sharpen up that edge there and that lip. So I'm going to kind of zoom in here, and I'm just going to hold down the Control key and go along here and really define that lip there. You could also go to the Scrapes brush and go along that and just flatten it out a bit. You can see that now I'm really flattening that out. So there's kind of like an edge there. And then I want to do that for the top one as well. So you can use the Scrapes brush and kind of flatten that out. You can also go to the clay strips and hold in the Control key and kind of flatten that out a little bit better. Okay, that's looking pretty good. So now to sharpen up that very tip of the eyelid, we're going to go to the Crease brush, and I'm going to hold down the Control key. So if you don't hold down the Control key, it's going to cut in. If you hold down the Control key, it's going to pop out. So let me just Control Z that. Okay, so just hold down the Control key and really pop that out. Okay, just pop out that and just sharpen it up. going along here. Okay, let's do the bottom one too. So just going along there, holding down the control key, sharpening that up there. Okay, that's really good. Okay, so now I just want to smooth this out because it is a bit rough. So just lightly hold down the shift key. Hold down the shift key and then lightly sculpt. And then just smooth that out. You could also turn the strength down if you wanted to, but I'm just very lightly tapping with my pen. And because I have pen pressure, I can just lightly tap. I'm just going to very lightly smooth that out. Okay, that looks better. And then also on this edge here, just lightly smooth that out. And this edge here, you could just smooth it out a little bit because it is a little bit rough when you zoom in. Okay, and let's do the top one. So holding down the shift key, just lightly smoothing that out. Okay, go to the bottom here, smooth that out as well. And then if you want to just make some final adjustments, you could press G for the grab brush and kind of pop that in. If like, you can see right here, it's really thin. So I'm going to pop that out, make it a bit thicker. And then right here, it's pretty thick. So I'm going to push it back into the eye a little bit and just kind of even those out a little bit. Okay, let's just zoom out and see how that's looking. All right. So I think the eyes are a little bit too big. So using the grab brush still, I'm just going to kind of push that in a little bit, and kind of pull that up a little bit. Just tapping along there and kind of making it a bit smaller. Okay, and then let's go over to the layout again. I need to adjust this. So I'm going to select the eye, tab into edit mode, and press A to make sure everything's selected. And then you can press G to grab, S to scale, and just stick that back in the eyelid because I just felt like the eyes were a little bit too big. Okay, that's a lot better. So now I'll select this and go back into sculpt mode. And again, using that grab brush, just kind of shape that to make it go around the eyeball again. All right, so I want to make some kind of wrinkly parts below the eyes. So I'm going to go to the clay strips, and then again, I need to turn on the Dyn Topo. And I'm just going to go along here, just make some kind of saggy places right there underneath the eye. Okay, and then hold down the shift key and just smooth that out a little bit. Smooth that out too. You could also kind of smooth this a little bit more. Now I think it's a good time to work on this cheekbone a little bit. What I'm going to do is kind of hold down control, especially right here, kind of cut that back a little bit. And then the cheekbone is kind of right there. So I'm going to just pop that out just slightly. Pop that out. Okay, smooth it out a little bit. Smooth out this edge a little bit. Okay, now that puffy part right here, I want to kind of define that a little bit more. So I'm going to hold down the control key, carve in, and then right here, carve out. Just go along that. Okay, and then hold down the shift key and just lightly smooth that out. Okay, let's sharpen up this right here. So I'm going to go to the crease brush, hold down control. Actually, you don't need to hold down control. You can just crease in, and kind of from the top of the wings of the nose, kind of crease that in, and then crease it all the way down. You can also crease it around the wing of the nose a little bit more, and then crease it all the way down here, coming all the way down, right all the way down there. Okay, so just make that really strong there. Okay, and then also just kind of hold down the shift key and smooth out a few areas here. And then also what I'm going to do is kind of make a little bit of a crease here. Smooth that out so it's not too strong. All right, so I want to make the chin a lot bigger. So I'm going to go to the clay strips and kind of go along here, make that a bit thicker. Okay, go along there, and then also just kind of have that kind of go up there, and then smooth that out. I'm just going to kind of smooth the whole thing out a little bit more. So just going around here, holding down the shift key and smoothing that out. Also right here, smooth that out too. Okay, so now that I've smoothed that out, I can see that the mouth is a little bit too high, and also the shape is a little bit off because this is kind of going up like this instead of going back. And also it's a bit too high, the whole mouth is a little bit high. So I'm going to go to the grab brush and I'm going to pull this down a little bit. Okay, and then pull this in a little bit so that the skin is really being pulled back around the face. So just pull that back there. And then this, I'm going to pull out, pull that out. Okay, and then let's go to the clay strips brush, and I want to hold down the control key and go in there and push that in a bit more. Because right now this looks a little bit fake. It kind of just looks like we just cut in there because that's basically what we did. So we need to define that a little bit more. So kind of cut in there, and then right here, just carving out and pulling that up a little bit, and then smoothing that out a bit more. All right, file and save this again. Let's just orbit around here, see how it's doing. So his mouth is a little bit too big, and then if I look on front view, you can see that this is still pretty large here. So I'm going to go to the grab brush again and kind of pull this in a little bit and pull this in a little bit, okay? And then if I go to kind of side view right here, I want to kind of make the cheekbone come out a little bit, push this in a little bit, and then also right here, pop this out just a tad. Okay, there we go, that's better. And then also this smile is a little bit large, so I'm going to, using the grab brush, kind of tapping around here and making the mouth a little bit smaller. All right, now this entire jaw, kind of down here, I want to just tap and pop that up just a little bit. And then let's go to the side, kind of see how that's going. Now this nose, I think I want to bring it in a little bit and a little bit more down because it's just coming out a little bit much. All right, I want to work on this chin here a bit more. So let's go to the clay strips brush, and I'm going to hold down control, bring that in a little bit, and then go along here, kind of pop that out, and have kind of what I want is kind of a wrinkle right here. So I'm going to go in right here and then kind of go out right here. And I want to make this bigger, so I'm going to go along here. Okay. And then there's usually a little bit of skin kind of right along here on older people. So I'm going to go along there and then kind of smooth that out. Okay, there we go. And then we can also have some wrinkles kind of coming from like the bottom of the cheek down to the jaw. So I'm going to go along here and kind of have some stretching right there on the skin. And then hold in the shift key, smooth that out just a little bit. All right, let's work a little bit more on the nose. So I'm going to go to the clay strips brush again and just go down here, and we're going to start to cut in the nostrils. So I'm just going to kind of go around in circles. So it's pretty close to the face right here, and then it kind of comes in. And then I'm also going to sculpt around here and just pop out that bottom of the nose a little bit, going around there, and then holding down control, carving in. I also find that using the draw brush for this works pretty good. So you can use the draw brush and push that back in there. Okay, and then hold down the shift key and smooth that out a little bit. Also go up here and we'll just go in a little bit. Go back to the clay strips. Just go in a little bit here and then smooth that out. Kind of pop out that the wings of the nose right there. Smoothing that out. And then just going around in a circle and then smoothing that out again. I think I want the nose to be going up a little bit more, so I'll go to the grab brush, kind of pull that up a little bit and maybe just pull it back just a little bit. And maybe just pull in those wings of the nose a little bit more. I'm going to go to the clay strips brush and kind of just go right in here. Kind of define that shape and then smooth it out a bit. Okay, I'm going to hold down control, go along here, sharpen that up, especially where the wings of the nose are, and then smooth that out. Okay, and then right here, there's a little dip right in there. So I'm going to actually go to the grab brush and just pull this down and out a little bit more, just so we have a bit more room, kind of smooth that out. And then I'm going to go back to the clay strips, and I will hold down the control key and go around there. Okay. I'm going to go to the grab brush and kind of make the nose just a tiny bit thinner there. Okay, let's go ahead and work on the forehead a little bit. So I'm going to go to the clay strips brush and want to add some wrinkles in there. So I'm just going to go along here like this, go along here, make some wrinkles. Let's work on where the eyebrows is. So I'm going to go along here, kind of pop out that and then have it kind of come down. Okay, and also maybe add a little bit more clay right there. Okay, and then we'll just go along here, just smooth it out a little bit. You could also hold down the control key and go along the other parts, like the inner parts of those wrinkles to kind of make them even stronger. So I'm holding down the control key, going in there. Okay, and then holding down the shift key and just lightly smoothing that out. So you can still see those wrinkles, but they are smooth and a bit more subtle. Alright, now this mouth is a little bit too far out. What I want to do is have the mouth kind of more end a little bit farther than where the center of the eye is. So I'm going to go to the grab brush with G, move out here, and then just kind of tap in and pop that in a little bit and then pull that out. Just pull the mouth back a little bit as well. And there we go. Now the mouth is a little bit smaller. It was just a little bit too big. Okay, I'm going to go to the clay strips brush and I want to pop out that cheekbone a bit more. So I'm going to go along here, just pop out that cheekbone. Okay. And then just smooth that out just a little bit. Alright, and then I want to add some more skin here. So what I'm going to do is kind of this right here. I'm going to just continue it a little bit more and go down and over a little bit. Okay. And then also just kind of smooth this out a bit more. So I'm going to sculpt along that jaw. Just kind of sculpt around the edge there and then hold down the shift key and smooth that out a little bit more. I still want to be able to see it, of course, but just make it a little bit smoother. All right, let's work a little bit more on this because right now the shape isn't really defined very well. So it kind of ends right here. I want it to kind of go up here. It's a little bit more. So I'm going to go along here, pop that out, and then hold down the control key, bring it in a little bit because it's coming down a little bit too far. And I want to make the shape match the eye a little bit more. So I'm just holding down the control key, going in there. Also on the top here, holding down the control key to flatten that out a little bit. And then just hold down the shift key, smooth that out a bit more. All right, and then I want to work on the forehead here a little bit more, kind of the front of the face. So what I want to do is go along here and kind of make some wrinkles right there. So we're just going along here, making a circular shape. And then smoothing that out a little bit. You can also hold down the control key and then smooth that out a little bit. Okay, and then I want to make some wrinkles right here. So we're going to go along here, smooth that out. And then I don't really like how the expression is because he almost looks a little bit like evil or angry or something. So I'm going to go to the grab brush, kind of pop this up, pull that back a little bit. Also, I think I might just pull down the eyelids a little bit. So I'm just using the grab brush and just tapping. Not too far down, but just a little bit more. And also just making that a little bit thicker. Kind of coming down there. Okay. Smoothing that out. Alright, now right here you can see that this kind of joins together with this. What I want to do is make those a little bit separate. So what I'm going to do is holding the control key and kind of go along here and just have another kind of shape so that these are a little bit separate from each other. Also just go along there, bring that in a little bit farther. Okay, go around there and then smooth that out. Also holding down the control key, carving that in a little bit more, making that a little bit more pronounced. All right, let's work on the neck even more because I want to make the neck a little bit thicker and just add more fat to the neck, make it a bit thicker. Add some more clay right there. Make this a little bit bigger as well. Okay, and then just smoothing that out with the shift key. And then kind of redefining that. We kind of lost that, but I want to make a thing of skin kind of coming right there. Smooth that out. Okay, there we go. Adding that Adam's apple, smoothing that out a little bit. But I just want to add, I want to add more, a little bit more skin and fat to the neck. Adding a lot more right here and more right here. Okay, smoothing that out as well. All right, let's again kind of look out and see the overall shape. So right now I feel like he's kind of like going like, and I want to make him look a little bit more relaxed. So you can see he kind of looks like he's going back a little bit. So there's a few things that we can do. Let's just kind of take the entire bottom part and kind of pull it back a little bit. So I'm going to go to the grab brush, kind of pull this back a little bit and pull this up a little bit and out. Okay. And then on the side here, pull this down and out a little bit more, but I still want to make that neck kind of thick. So I'm going along there, just kind of popping that all out. Okay, pulling this up, but then yeah, just kind of pulling the entire shoulders and neck back a little bit. Okay, that definitely looks more relaxed and more natural. And then I'm actually just going to kind of smooth this out because this being a bit wrinkled kind of makes him look like he's a little bit more tightened up. So I'm just going to actually smooth that out a bit. Make that a bit smoother. You can see now he looks a lot more relaxed as well. Let's add some more right here. And coming up here and just kind of fill that in a little bit. Okay, smooth that out just a little bit. Okay, I think now would be a good time to add the ear. So how I make the ear is I use the draw brush. I find that the draw brush works pretty well. So I'm going to go in here. So the ear, the top of the ear is going to kind of be right about here. So where the top of the eyelid is, that's about where the top of the ear is. So kind of around there. And then the bottom of the ear is where the jaw starts. So the jaw actually is a little bit too high up. So the ear is going to kind of be about here to here. So I'm just going to go ahead with the draw brush and go around and kind of make that ear shape and then make that little part that pops out there. Just go around there. And it does look very close to the face, but we will pop it out and carve back in there. And then also, when you're sculpting ears, you can sometimes have problems where like it'll go through like right there. So how you fix this is click up here on brush, and then you can click on front faces only. And that way it's only going to sculpt on the front faces, because sometimes when these, like this edge and this edge get close to each other, you can kind of have some issues with the sculpt. So just turn on the front faces only, and that helps a lot for those issues with like the ear. Kind of bumping that out and then smoothing that out a little bit. Okay, let's go to the clay strips and pop that up a little bit more. You're kind of going to have to go on an angle, pop that out. Okay, so you can see that now that I've popped that out a lot, I'm going to go to the grab brush and pull that out even more. Go to the top as well, pull that out, try to make it somewhat even, pull that down a little bit. So now that we've done that, we've kind of pulled it out a bit, we need that to go back in. So to make that go back in, one thing I'm going to do is hold down the shift key and smooth this out in here. And then using the clay strips brush, you can go in there a little bit. Now this only works so far because you really want to kind of sharpen that up and make it really small. So what you can also do is go to the draw brush and make your brush smaller, and then hold in the control key and go in there. And then also if you wanted to, you could use the crease brush as well and crease that in there. But I find that the draw brush works pretty well for this. Okay, going in there. You can see I'm moving around a lot, but I'm just kind of going up and down the ear, carving that in, and then also holding down the shift key and flattening out the side of the face. Okay, you could also, if you wanted to, go to the crease brush and crease that in even more. I think the draw brush works a little bit better though. And then holding down the shift key and smoothing that out a little bit so it's not super, super sharp. Okay, so now that we have that, I want to thicken this up a little bit. So using the draw brush, I'm going to go along here, kind of thicken that up. Something else you could use is the Inflate Brush. So where it is, here we go, Inflate Brush. So if you use the Inflate Brush and just go along here, it's going to just inflate it, kind of like a balloon. Just kind of make it thicker. So you can go along there and just inflate that a little bit if you wanted to. And then smooth that out a little bit more. Okay, there we go. Now, that's looking pretty good. Let me just go to front view and side view and kind of see how that's looking. Okay, so if you want to change the shape of it at all, you could use the grab brush and just kind of push and pull those shapes a little bit. And then let's go to the clay strips, and we can start to do the inside of the ear. So I'm not going to go into a ton of detail, but I'll just do some things right here. So there's that little bit right here that kind of comes out and goes over. So let's add that in. And then the hole for the ear kind of goes in here. So let's just go in here, kind of make the ear come in, and then really back there, go in, pop that in, and then pop this out. So go around there, smooth that out so that we have that little part coming out like that. Okay, smooth this out. Hold down the control key and kind of carve in to make the ear have more depth inside it. I'm going to go to the grab brush and then pull this out and down a little bit. And then also the ear lobe, just kind of pull that down a little bit more, flatten that out a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to go to the draw brush and I'm going to go around here make that part coming out, and then hold down the control key, kind of go in even deeper to make that hole there for the ear. Pull that out a bit. And then also right in here, that comes in a bit. So using the draw brush, you can hold down the control key and go in and just push that in. Make that shape a little bit better. Okay, I don't want to go into too much detail on the ear, so I'm just going to leave it like that for now. Alright, I want to add a little bit more fat kind of on the side here of his face, so let's just go along here. Just add more right there. Also add a little bit more here. Just have this coming out. Okay. A little bit more here, a little bit more here. And then let's go ahead and do the lips now, because we haven't really added any lips. So I'm just going to zoom in here, and I'm going to start to sculpt around the lips, kind of make them come up a little bit here and then go down. But for the most part, just thickening them up a little bit, just kind of adding some thickness to them. And then going back and smoothing that out just a little bit. You could also hold down the control key to just sharpen that up a little bit, but we're mostly just going along here and making that a little bit thicker. You could also use the draw brush if you wanted to just go around there and thicken that up. Okay, now let's do the same thing for here. So kind of the bottom lip, thicken this up. It's going to be the biggest right here. I think I'll go back to the clay strips. It's going to be the biggest right here, and then kind of get thinner and thinner as it goes out to the edge. So I'm just going to zoom in here, go along here, and just kind of make it so it gets thicker and bigger as it comes out to the center there. Okay, just go along there as well on the inside, thicken that up a little bit. Okay, and then go back and just lightly smooth that out. Try not to take out the shape you just made, but just lightly smooth that out there. And then while we're down here, I want to add a little bit of a dimple on the chin. So this is pretty easy. We'll just hold down control, go in there, and then on the sides here, just make that come out a little bit, and then just smooth that out. So looking at this from a down view like this, you can see that I want this to be a little bit more round instead of how sharp it is. So I'll go to the grab brush and kind of just pop that out just a little bit so that that is just a little bit more round. Maybe even pop that out a little bit. And also just pull the mouth back a little bit more. Alright, so I'm going to go and save this again. Now what I want to do is I want to change the expression a little bit. So I'm actually going to turn off the symmetry. So just click this button to turn off the symmetry, and then just go to the grab brush, make your brush the size that you want, and I'm going to change the expression a little bit so that it's not the same on both sides. And it'll just make the face a little bit more interesting, and the expression will be more interesting as well. So now that I've turned off the symmetry, now when I move something, you can see that it's not going to be moved on the other side. So I'm going to pull this side up a little bit, like make him look like his eyes a little bit more open, and also pop this up a little bit. Oh, pull that down a little bit. And then this I'm going to pull down a little bit. You can see now he's kind of going, Hur. And then kind of pull this up, pull that down a little bit. Just change a few things. Also, I think I want to make this shoulder coming up a little bit. So I'm just kind of tapping, popping that shoulder up, pull this one down a little bit, maybe even pull this over a little bit and pull this back a little bit, maybe so it kind of makes it look like he's turning his head a little bit more. Maybe bringing these together a little bit more so his mouth is a little bit more closed. And then just closing this eyelid a little bit. So I'm just going to close the eyelid just a tiny bit there. Okay, you can see he's really starting to look cooler and more interesting because he's not exactly the same. Because like this is a little bit higher up, this is a little bit lower, and especially like right here with the shoulders. Yeah, I think it just adds a lot to the sculpt. So now let's go ahead and actually rotate those eyes so that they're looking a little bit different instead of just looking straight on. So I'm going to go back to layout here, and I'm just going to select the eyes, tab into edit mode, and you can see that there's the mirror here. So if we double tap R, you can see that it's going to be mirroring it. So we don't really want to do that. So I'm going to press escape. What I'll do is apply the mirror. So you can press Control A with your mouse over the modifier, or you can just click right here and click apply. Now we're in edit mode, so we need to tab back into object mode, click on this and click apply. The shortcut key is Control A. All right, so now that we have that applied, we can tab into edit mode, select everything. And if we rotate it right now by double tapping R, you can see it's kind of rotating all around. I'm going to escape out of this. We want to rotate each eye individually. So what I'm going to do is click right up here and click on individual origins. On default, it's set to median point, but we want to click on individual origins. And now if you double tap R, because these eyes are separate, they're still in the same object, but each mesh is kind of separate. They're not connected. You can see that now we can rotate those eyes around. So I'm just going to rotate them a little bit, nothing too much, but just a little bit. So he's kind of maybe looking up like that. So just double tapping R, kind of rotating his eyes a little bit. Okay, let's see how that's looking. Okay, that's a little too much. So I'm going to double tap R, just rotate it a little bit back. It should be kind of subtle, at least for what I'm doing here. I want this to be somewhat subtle. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And then if you need to, you could move the eyes or go back into sculpting. If you select this, go back into sculpting. You can play around with those eyelids if you need to. All right, so now I want to go ahead and add some more wrinkles and just add a few little things like a little bit of stuff on the skin to make it look different. And I'll leave the symmetry off so that it looks different on either side. So I'm back into sculpt mode now. I'm going to turn on the Dyn Topo and I'm going to go to the crease brush and I'm going to add some creases. So one place I'm going to add creases is like right here. So I'm going to add some creases there and some creases there. And I will do it for the other side. I'm not going to be doing too much. So if I have it different on each side, then it will look a little bit more unique. Do a little bit of creases here. Also, I can hold down Control and kind of pop that out a little bit. Hold down Control, crease that out a little bit. And then I also want to add some creases here on the skin, kind of coming out there. Okay, like that. And maybe just a couple here. And maybe crease this in just a little bit. The problem with turning on the symmetry now is that we've already rotated the face a bit. So if you turned on the symmetry now, it would kind of mess some things up because his head is rotated just a little bit and some of the facial features are a little bit different. So I'm just going to leave the symmetry off and that's fine because we're really not going to do too much. We're just doing a few things here and there. And that way it'll look a bit more unique because the wrinkles aren't going to be exactly the same on either side. They're going to be a little bit different. So I'm just adding in some wrinkles like there, adding in a little bit right there. You can also hold down the Control key if you want to sharpen up any areas. And then crease that a little bit. Okay, crease that a little bit too. Also maybe add in just a subtle crease right there. And also up here, I think I will crease this a little bit more. So because this is coming up, there's probably going to be more creases because the skin is kind of being pushed together. So I'm going to crease like that. And like that, mostly down here though, because he's having his eyebrow coming up, so the skin is going to be a little bit creased. And that's what's kind of great about turning off the symmetry, because this probably wouldn't be as creased as this, because this is coming up more, so the skin is being pressed together a little bit. And then also holding down the Control key if you want to pop out those creases just a little bit more. Okay, there we go. Maybe just adding some subtle creases here in the neck muscles. And then also right here in between the nose and the mouth, I'm just going to add a basic texture. So I'm going to make my brush pretty small, hold down Control, and just kind of pop out some areas. And then also in between them, just going in there. Just a subtle kind of texture thing right there. Not too strong, but yeah, it's pretty subtle. Pretty hard to see, kind of smooth it out a little bit. There we go. And then let's also go to the draw brush, and I'm just going to add a few little things. In my orc follow along sculpting tutorial, I added like these little like bumps and things like that. I'm not going to add a ton of those kind of things, but I'm just going to add a few subtle things like that on the face. So maybe right here, just add a few very subtle little lumps there, but smoothing them out. Something like that. Of course, on the orc, I made it a lot stronger, but I just want to make it pretty subtle so you can just barely see it. Also, maybe adding a few creases right there. Also, in my orc one, I added like something like this, like he was in a battle, so he kind of got cut maybe with a sword or something. I'm not going to add that in for this one, but just to give you an idea of the kind of things you could like add in. Okay, smooth that out. Maybe add just a little bit of a texture on the front of his nose, so just kind of adding in some tiny little bumps right there. Okay, smoothing that out with the Shift key to keep it subtle. Maybe adding a few wrinkles right here. So just going out and then holding down control, going in. Yeah, I think that'd be a good place to add wrinkles. So I'm going to do that for the other side too. Just come out and then hold down control, go back in. I'm using the draw brush, adding in some wrinkles there. Okay, and then just lightly smoothing that out. Okay, it's really starting to look more interesting now because we're adding in all those little things right there, adding in little bits of wrinkles, just a lot more detail generally over the face. So I'm just going to keep on doing this. So maybe just add some little bumps here, some parts there and there. Okay, right here as well. Maybe making that a little bit stronger at a few parts. Sharpening that up too a little bit. Maybe just adding a few little very subtle scars or scratches there. Pretty subtle stuff, but it really, as you can see, it really does make the overall sculpt look a lot more interesting. And maybe just a few little bumps here on his chin. All right, so I'm gonna call this good. So now let's go ahead and do the hair, but I'm gonna call the face done. So let's go back to the layout here, press Shift A, and I'm going to add a UV sphere. And I'm just going to scale it down a little bit and press G and Z, bring it up a little bit. Basically just like that, and then we'll go back into sculpt mode. So I'm going to start with Symmetry turned on, and I'm going to go to the clay strips brush and then turn the Dine Topo on. Okay, I'm just going to start by just making some basic hair, so just kind of getting the main shapes that I want. So I'm going to have it kind of come down here. Oh, and where the ear is, I need to carve that away. Also maybe carve this away here. Okay, and just kind of like right here, it's kind of too circular. It needs to be more flat, and then also like right here it needs to be more flat. So just defining those shapes, smoothing that out, making it pretty smooth. Also right here it's too large, kind of going in there. And if you go in a little bit too far, that's okay. Like right there, went in too far, I can just sculpt that out. Also right here I need to add more hair here, so I'm just sculpting through that until it kind of pops out of the head. Just going along here, smoothing that all out. Flattening that out because it needs to be flatter on the face. Just smoothing that all out and then sculpting that, smoothing it. Okay, and then right here, I'm going to go to the grab brush, kind of pull that down just a little bit. Pull that down as well. Smoothing that all out. Okay, so now that I have the basic shape of the hair, actually maybe pull this out a little bit more. Okay, so now that I have the basic shape of the hair, I'm going to turn off the symmetry and then go to the clay strips, and that way I can start to change it, just make it a little bit different. So sculpt that away. So what I want to do is kind of make a line of hair where a lot of the hair is coming out from. So I'll go to the draw brush and hold down control and kind of go along there and make that and have it kind of go there. Just kind of have it go all the way over till it kind of ends kind of in the back of the head. Okay, and don't worry if it goes through. We will be fixing that. Okay, so just basically like that. And then I'm going to go to the clay strips and I'm going to go along this. I'm going to just go like this. Just make that kind of pop out there. Okay, go along there. And then right here, go along there. And then on the other side too. Just go along here. Just popping that out. Also on the front here, just making a little bit more hair on the front. Kind of have it go down. Kind of make it flow. You can see I'm kind of trying to make it flow kind of like hair. So having these nice long strokes coming down and over. And like that's a little bit blobby, so I'm going to hold down the control key, kind of make that go back, and then just add some hair. Now, if you didn't want to add hair, if you just wanted to have them be bald, that's totally fine too. But I thought I might as well add just a little bit of hair. So what I'm going to do here for this, sorry I started doing this without telling you what I was doing. I'm going to go to the grab brush, and then just pop it slightly up until it pops over, okay? So just using the grab brush, just tapping, popping that up. Okay, now that I have that all the way up, I'm going to go to the crease brush and I'm going to hold down the control key, and then I'm just going to start to crease in here. And if it goes through again, that's totally fine. It probably will. And just make it even sharper. Okay, and then I can also crease some areas right here. I think I will turn the strength up on the crease brush, and that way I can crease a lot stronger. And just go back in here and make just a basic texture and shape for the hair. So just going along there, creasing all that. Okay, And then just lightly smoothing it out, just holding down the shift key, just lightly smoothing that out. Trying not to mess up the shape, but just lightly smoothing some of those areas out, okay? Okay, that's good. So now, once again, I'm going to press G for the grab brush, or just click right here, and then just tap and just pop it up a little bit so that you can't see the head. Okay, so just tap along there. Pop that up just where it needs to be. Up, and there you can see now the hair is all the way up and we can't see the head at all. All right, so now let's just continue to make this texture for the hair. So I'm just creasing that in, holding down the control key. I'm actually using the draw brush for this. Just creasing that in there. I'm also going to just pop that out a little bit and then smooth it. I don't want to get too detailed with this, but I will just kind of add just a basic texture for the hair. Okay, just going around there, kind of having the hair how it would be flowing on the head. So have it kind of going down and over, and then just smoothing it out, making sure it's nice and smooth. Down here as well, just going all the way down. And on this other side too as well, just going down there. And then just smoothing that out. Smoothing that all out. Maybe go to the crease brush. And then also right here, using the clay strips brush, I'm just gonna push that back in. Okay. And then on the back of the head here, I might as well just thicken that up a little bit. So I'm just gonna use the clay strips and just go along here, kind of thicken that up too. And then just go back and smooth it out a little bit. All right, there we go. So that's gonna be it for the hair. I'm gonna call that good. So we are now done with the sculpting. I am going to be just modeling some basic glasses. So if you want to do that, you totally don't have to if you don't want to, but I'm just going to be modeling some basic glasses and putting them on there. And then we will just render this out in the workbench just to kind of preview the sculpt. So I'm going to hop over back to my main monitor and we can finish this up. All right, so I've hopped back over to my main monitor now. So I'm just going to go back to the layout here and we will go file and save this again. And then if I zoom in here, you can see that I need to shade this smooth. So I'm just going to select the hair, actually just press A to select everything, and then object and shade smooth just to make sure that's shaded smooth. All right, so I'm going to just model some basic glasses. So I'll press 1 to go to front view and I'll press Shift A and I'll just add a plane. I'm going to tab into edit mode. Bring this plane over with G and then S and scale it down, and then R to rotate, X on the X-axis, and type in 90, enter. So now it's rotated over by 90 degrees. We'll go back to the front view by pressing 1 on the number pad, G, and bring this over and bring it out a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to scale this down even more because we're just going to start to make those like the rim of the glasses. So now I will select this one and shift select this one. And actually, let me just get rid of this and pull this out so we have a little bit more room to work with. Okay, so I'm going to press G to grab, bring it over, and then press E to extrude. And you can see that's going through there. So I will just double tap A, press G, move that out a little bit. So we have a bit more room. Okay, 1 for front view again. I'm going to just select this one, hold in the shift key, select this one, and then E to extrude. And then we need to add the mirror modifier. So let's go add modifier, add the mirror, and that way we don't need to model both sides of the sunglasses. I mean, not the sunglasses, just the regular glasses. So what I'm going to do now is Alt select this loop and then press G and move it up a little bit. Okay, I'm going to select these, E to extrude, R to rotate, and then E to extrude, bring that down, E to extrude, maybe rotate this, E to extrude. Now you can see that it's going through there, the eye. So I'm going to press A to select everything, G to grab, bring that out a little bit. Okay, 1 for front view again. We will select this and then shift select this, E to extrude, rotate it with R. Okay, let's just keep on going here. Okay, so now I'm up here. Let me just select these and pull them up a little bit so that they're a little bit thinner. Okay, so now we need to merge this together. So I'm going to shift select. So I'm going to select this, shift select this, and then E to extrude, bring that up. And then I can select this, hold down the shift key and select this one, and this one. And then the shortcut key to fill a face is F. So press F, that'll fill the face. Okay, and I want that square there so we can extrude the sunglasses back. Okay, so then we need to add something here so that these are connected. So I'll press Control R, and Control R is the shortcut key to add a loop cut. And then click, bring this down, and then I can just select this one and shift select this one. And then I'll press E to extrude, and then just bring that together. And then right here, to make these so that they merge together, you can click on this clipping, and that's going to merge them. And then when you press G to grab, bring it back, now they're going to be merged together. Okay, so there are the glasses. All right, so now I want to thicken up those glasses. So I'm going to tab into edit mode, press A to select everything. Just go to side view, and I'll press E to extrude. Just bring those out. Okay, tab back into object mode. And now I need to press Control 2 to add a subdivision surface. And then we can go object and shade smooth. Now you can see that the normals need to be recalculated because the shading is kind of the opposite of the rest of the object. So tab into edit mode, press A to make sure everything's selected, and then Shift N is the shortcut key to recalculate the normals, and now they've been flipped. And that looks correct. Okay, now these glasses are like really long, they're coming way out, so I'll tab into edit mode, A to deselect everything, I'll press Z and move my mouse over to go into wireframe, and I'm just going to press B for the box select this, and then press G to grab, and just bring it back a little bit. Maybe select an area here, bring it back a little bit, so they're not quite as big. Also this bottom area, probably pull it up a little bit. All right, that shape is definitely better. So now I want the glasses to kind of rotate a little bit more around because glasses, I think, usually rotate a little bit more to fit better on the face. So I'll tab into edit mode, Z, move my mouse over, just box select some of these and just rotate them over. There we go, that's better. Okay, so now I'm going to press 3 to go to the face select, or just click on this one. Click on this, and I'm going to press 7 for top view, and I will rotate that face over a little bit. And then I'll press E to extrude, Z, and move my mouse over here and let go to go into wireframe. And I'm just going to bring this over here, and that's going to go around the ear. Now it kind of goes into the hair, but that's okay. It would probably do that. The hair would probably come over the frame there. So now I can double tap A, press G to grab, and just pull that out a little bit so there's a little bit more room there. Okay. And then I'm going to press Control R to add a loop cut, click and just drag in to sharpen that up a little bit. Also right here you can see this is kind of very smooth, so I need to press Control R, click, bring it over, and then click again to place that. All right, so there we go. And then if you need to move this a little bit, you can, because the face isn't perfectly mirrored. All right, and then let's make some eyebrows really quick. So I will actually just select these and press H to hide them, because we don't need them right now, and we'll just make some basic eyebrows. So I'll press Shift C again to center the 3D cursor, and then I'll press Shift A. I'm going to add a plane, tab into edit mode, and I'm going to bring this over, scale it down. We can rotate it so it's kind of facing the character and bring it over here. So now I'm going to click on Add Modifier, and we are going to add the Shrink Wrap modifier. So it's under Deform, right down here, Shrink Wrap. Now we need to tell this to shrink wrap onto the face. So I'm going to click right here, and then click on the icosphere. That's the object. And then it's shrink wrapping to it, and you can see it kind of is deformed in over there, but we will fix this. So press G to grab, move it over, scale it down. You can also double tap R, and that'll kind of trackball rotation, and just go like that. Okay, I'm going to press 1 to go to the vertex select and just select these, and then I'll press E to extrude, R to rotate, E to extrude, and just make the basic shape of the eyebrows. Okay, so when I tab back into object mode, you can see this is the shape that it has. The problem is it's shrink wrapping it, and it's going way down underneath the face, so you can change that. This offset here, if you just turn this up, you can see that now it's just going to push it through. So basically just make it like that. We're going to add a solidify too, so just so that you can see it, just make it barely coming through. Okay, so now let's add some more modifiers. So I'm going to click on Add Modifier, and I'm going to add right down here the Solidify Modifier under Generate. So add that. Scroll down here so you can see it. Make it a little bit bigger. So the thickness here, if you turn the thickness up, I need to actually make it a negative number for this one. And you can see that when I pull that out, you can see that now that has a lot of thickness. So don't make it too thick, just something like that. And now that that's thicker, this offset here, I can actually just turn this down a little bit and push that in there. Okay, so just turn up the thickness. So now we have that. Okay, maybe make the thickness a little bit bigger. Now I'm going to add another modifier, so I'll click on Add Modifier, and this time I'm going to add the Subdivision Surface, and that will smooth it out, and then I can go Object and Shade Smooth as well. Okay, so I'm going to actually scroll down here, and the viewport and render values, I'm going to turn these both up to 2, and you can see that's what it's looking like. Now you can see it's still going through the face a little bit, so if you want to just turn the thickness up a little bit more, that way it'll go through. Okay, so now you can go back into edit mode, and now you can really play around with it. So just select some different vertices, extrude it out, and you can select everything, press R to rotate, and just make those eyebrows however you want. There we go. Okay, so now I want to duplicate these over and just move them over, and I don't want to mirror them over because this eyebrow I want to be different than this eyebrow. So I'll press Shift D, bring it over here, and then I want to mirror it. So I'll press S to scale, X on the X-axis, and then I'm going to type in -1, enter. And now you can see the shape has been mirrored over. Now I can press R to rotate, bring that over, and you can see that because we mirrored that over, now instead of the thickness coming out this way, it's going to go the other way. So what we can do to fix this is press Shift N, and then it's going to recalculate the normals, and now the normals have been flipped, so now the Solidify knows to bring it out on the other side. So now you can just rotate this and play around with the shape of it and make the eyebrows to how you like. So I want to have this eyebrow coming up a little bit more, and maybe thicken that up a little bit more. Maybe bring that down just a little bit. Okay, I'm going to press Alt-H now to unhide the glasses. If you made glasses, then that's fine. If you don't like the glasses, you could just press H to hide them. Really, whatever you want to do. I'm just going to Alt-H that to have the glasses. So there we go. Let's just do some basic rendering. I'm not really going to be going into materials and stuff because I really wanted to focus on the sculpting. So I'm just going to render this out sort of like a clay preview. So what I'm going to do is go right up here, and there's the rendering engine. I'm going to change this, instead of Eevee or cycles, I'm going to change this to Workbench. And what Workbench does is it allows us to render out basically what we're seeing in the view. So now I can press Z and move my mouse up to go into rendered view, and now we can see what the rendered view is looking like. All right, so right now it's the lighting here. It's set to studio. I want to change this to matte cap, and you can really play around with any matte cap that you want to use. You could also install matte caps. I'll leave a link in the video description to my tutorial on how to create your own matte caps. And if you've downloaded matte caps, you can install them. So just really make whatever matte cap you want to use. Just choose a matte cap that you like or install your own. I'm just going to use this one. I think that looks pretty nice. And then right down here, there's some different settings you can turn on to make it look even cooler. So I'm going to turn on shadow, and shadow is really cool. You can turn this up to make the shadow darker. And then right here, you can click on this and also just like rotate the shadow. If you rotate the sphere, it's really cool. Just adds a lot and just makes it look cooler. And then there's this cavity. This is really cool. If you turn the ridge up, that's going to make the parts that are coming out more a lot brighter. You can see like especially the nose and stuff. And then the valley, if you turn this up, it's going to make the deeper parts darker. So like right in here and right in here, it's almost like an ambient occlusion kind of thing. So the deeper parts get darker. And then also if you want to turn on the outline, I like that. Just kind of makes a small outline right there. And that's going to be it. All right, so now it's out of camera. So I'll press Shift A, go down here to camera, add a camera. And then what you can do is you can move to wherever you want the camera to be. So I just want the camera to be somewhere like this. And then you can press Control Alt Numpad 0, and the camera is going to jump to where you were. So now you can press G to grab, R to rotate. You can also double tap R to trackball the camera and just move the camera around and just put it where you want the face to be. And then also the aspect ratio really isn't good for what we're doing. So if you click right here to kind of the printer icon, you can change this resolution. So I'm just going to pull this one up and then just make that kind of going up and down. So it's sort of like a portrait mode instead of a landscape mode. And that way we can render out the whole face. All right. So just bring this around. If you want to move the camera in and out, you can press G and then double tap Z, and that'll bring the camera in and out, and then just G to grab, R to rotate, also double tapping R will trackball. And also while you're moving it, if you want to make your movements more sensitive, like I'm double tapping R, but it's really hard to get to where I want because of my mouse is pretty sensitive. If you want to make it less sensitive, you can hold down the Shift key, and that way you can see that now the movements are a lot less sensitive. Alright, so just get it to how you like, and then also on the world here, click on the world settings. If I click on viewport display, I can just turn this down to almost black, and there we go. Alright, save this one more time, file save, and I'm just going to press F12 to render out the character. So there we go. To save this image, you can just go Image, and click on Save As, and save your image to your computer. So there we go, there is the finished old man beginner sculpting tutorial. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in a future video.